Hello family, I'm Robert and I'm a real alcoholic.
Hey, Robert.
I want to welcome everyone to the Atlanta Step Up Society book study. Let's open with a moment of silence. Serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I want to welcome, first of all, and the most important, is everyone around the world. Our study is around the world. Every week we come in here before the meeting and we look at the statistics of who's watching it on YouTube. And I can honestly tell you, it's global. People in China, South America, it's all over the world. So for the people who watching it, we're real grateful and humbly thank y'all for watching. But I told you it's going to be like that anyway. And we're going to study how to make things like that become a part of your life. Also, since we're going into fourth step, and we did pass out the paperwork, and the paperwork is just an example of how to do it. You cannot do the fourth step on the paperwork. But for the people who's not present now, and that's around the world, you can get the paperwork from our email, atlstepupsociety@aol.com, or go to the website, www.atlantastepupsociety.org. And the reason we're doing that is because I don't want no one to miss out on doing an inventory. It's very important to do an inventory to stay clean and sober. I have people that always ask me to sponsor them. And be honest with you, when I came into recovery, at my third or fourth month, I was introduced to a book study just like this. So I've always been a member of a book study for 21 years now. You ask me to sponsor you, I don't know how to sponsor you outside of the book study. I don't know how to sponsor a person outside the book. I can't, I'm not a good fellowshipper type guy. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't know how you can sponsor someone just on the knowledge and the sharing from the fellowship. Because if you ask me to go to I'm not going to kick it with you and go to no movies with you. I ain't drinking coffee. I don't like coffee. You never see me pick up a coffee cup. I drink water. So I don't know how the fellowship sponsor a person. That makes sense? When I ride, you don't have a car, you walk. I can teach you how to get one. You do these 12 steps like this, you guaranteed to get a car. That makes sense? So my point is, I'm not trying to be funny about it, I just don't know how to do it. You can't ask me how to sponsor someone if you don't come in here and get the medicine. If you don't have the ingredients, I can't do it. That makes sense? We're going to start on the fourth step tonight. It's going to be very little reading, but I want to go over some things why we do the house cleaning steps. There's a reason to do the house cleaning steps. And the best way to explain it probably would be to give like a couple scenarios on why we do it. We have to now start working on our mind. We know that we have a mental obsession and a physical allergy. All right, that's the illness of our disease. All right, we know that. Now we have to do these house cleaning steps. Step 4, 5, 6, and 7 deals with your mind, with your thinking. Step 3 say we turn our thinking and our behavior over to the care of God as we understand them. All right, so we got to know exactly what to do. And I'm going to give you a scenario to try to open our minds up to receive information that's going to come down tonight when it comes to our mind and our thinking. About years ago, I was taking my grandkids, and we went to a fair. It's not far from here. We went to this fairgrounds, with the kids. They put them in the place, the malls, the parking lots. They drive in, they set them up, and so I went to one. And we having a good time. Then they had a little section over in the corner with animals in it, like a little mini zoo that they had put in there. And we walked in there, paid our money, walked through and saw the snakes and this and that and that. And all that was fine. And I walked up on this huge cage that had a beautiful, beautiful lion in it. The lion or the beast was beautiful, but it was in a cage. The cage was just a little bit bigger than the animal was, and this was a full-grown lion. And I felt sorry for the lion, because I knew that that lion was in prison. I knew that that lion, that's not where a lion should be in my mind. I don't own a lion, but I don't watch enough National Geographic to know it don't have no business in no cage like that. To me, it was deprived of its natural ability to be a lion. That makes sense? So the only thing they could do is stand up, go to the left, go to the right, and sit down. And they would feed it. Now, I knew from that circus that the mobile circus like that, I don't think they had no place where they would take that lion at the end of the day, you know, downtown Atlanta, and let it out so it can play. That's not going to happen. So it was locked up. Now, if we was to take that lion, I don't know, let's say it been there 10, 15 years, because it was fully grown, and put it in its own natural environment, it probably could not survive. Because the instincts and everything that it's supposed to know on the natural probably has been confined so long that it's not there mentally. That makes sense? Yeah. All right. Now let's take, that's just one. I read the daily inspiration I get from Erica's uncle every day. And he was talking today about aquarium, and they had fish in it. And it's huge. And the fish was able to swim back and forth in the aquarium. Right? They had maneuver. They could maneuver. Alright? It wasn't like the lion. They could maneuver. So they started feeding the fish on one end of the aquarium. Fish would swim down, eat, swim back. Go down, eat, swim back. Did this over a period of time. And what they did was, right in the middle of the aquarium, they put a piece of glass down. And they would take the food and still put it on that end, and the fish would swim up to the glass, bump the glass, and go back. Bump the glass and go back. Bump the glass and go back. After they learned the behavior that they couldn't get to the food, the scientists decided to take the glass out, remove it. The fish would only go up to where the glass was and go back. They wouldn't go get the food. They had learned just to go up to the glass and go back, and they finally died. But the glass had been removed, but their thinking was still the same. You see where I'm headed? Now, let's take a dog. When I was growing up, they had two things for dogs. Well, two or three things that dogs could do. We didn't have the kind of dogs I have now. You got to manicure and wash them and dimple them and take to a vet and all. We didn't have none of that. We had dogs that's outside. Yeah. That's what we had. An inch from a mutt. Yep. Yeah. You know? So, you either have a dog that go in and out the house. You know, I don't even remember us talking about the dog, boo-booing or urinating in the house. They wasn't in there that long to, even worry about that one. That screen door, they hit that door and they go and do what they have to do. There wasn't no wiping and all that. They didn't have to be house trained. They wasn't in there long enough to learn how to be potty trained or whatever you call it. House trained on some pads. No, none of that. And then all of a sudden they came with these cages and stuff. So people started putting dogs in cages. I remember that. Now the dog in the cage, and maybe on a chain, it would only go so far, but it end up in that dog house. Today, I see dogs that have a collar around them with this electrical thing on it, like on the leg, and they put some kind of post out electrical things, and the dogs can go so far, you know, and go so far, hit that electrical line, and it shocks them, and they come back and bark at you, but they're not going to cross over. But they have access to move around, right? All those scenarios is similar to us as human beings. We can come in recovery. To me, this is just me. When I was using drugs and alcohol, I was that lion in that cage. I was locked up. My whole world wasn't but 2 or 3 streets wide and long.
Yes, sir.
I wasn't going uptown, downtown. I was staying in my little vicinity. I was in prison. This is just my spiritual journey. As I got clean and sober, I became like the fish. I was able to move and maneuver and recover, but I hit a wall and had to go back. Because I wasn't doing no steps. I wasn't doing no work. I was just sharing good. Go a little far, go a little bit. A resentment hit me, back up. Go a little farther. My character defects started glaring. I did somebody wrong, back up. As I started working a little bit of more steps in my life, getting a little bit more spirituality, I became that dog with the thing on my neck. I had a few steps in me. I move a little farther than the wall. Had to pull back. I might go this way a little farther. Had to pull back. In each and every scenario, I was never, ever totally free. I was in bondage somewhere. The spiritual program that we have is a beautiful thing because it's a journey. I love it. I have the ability to be totally free, eternally free, with no limitations whatsoever. Whatever I desire has to manifest in my life because I am totally free. The power that's in me, the I am that's in me, allows me to desire whatever I want in life, and it will manifest whether it's good or bad. The law don't change because I'm thinking bad. But the point is, I only want to manifest things in my life that's going to be good for me, probably my family, and don't hurt nobody else. That's what I want to do. So as we grow, we got to all know that we have to start like a child. It's a spiritual journey. We're not grown up in this thing. You're going to be in cage. You're going to be in bondage. Then you're going to go a little farther like the fish. You're going to hit brick walls. You're going to hit places that you are fearful of going, that your mind is not trained to go beyond. The book explained it very well when it talked about things like running on self-will. Like an actor trying to control the entire play or the program. If you're the actor and you trying to control, the only thing that dog with the electric on He can control within his fence. But he's limited. You step outside the electricity, there's nothing he can do. Just go on the other side. He wasn't beyond self-will. We have to reach a point spiritually that we go beyond what I can do with my own thinking and my own reasoning, my own logic. My best thinking, my best logic, all put together, got me a seat here. So now what I'm trying to do is connect to a power that's greater than me, that's beyond anything I ever desired. The same force that's in me is the same force that created the entire universes of all universes and beyond. Beyond. I was watching National Geographic the other day, and they did the story about the mermaid. Boy, that was good.
Oh, yeah.
The mermaid, the body of the mermaid, and now they got living proof that mermaids do exist. My mind was like, you go. Because I know you can't go back millions of years and they writing on the wall in cave, look, mermaids, they had to see them. The imagination, and we're so beautiful, imagination is so beautiful, even if it's not none, if you start thinking long enough that it is some, you're going to start to see it, because that's the creation. As a man thinketh, so shall it will be. We got to change our thinking. We got to go beyond. That's the whole thing I'm trying to get you to know. If your best, everything you wanted to do, if you're working from my own human mind, it's limited. And you study anybody in the Bible, they only go so far, then they have to call on a God of their own understanding to go beyond, to get into the vision, the miracles. We ain't as strong and powerful as we might think we are. Kind of weak. That makes sense? So with that in mind, we're going to study. I just want to open up our minds, because this is deep tonight. We're going to study page 64. Therefore, we started up on a personal inventory. Y'all see that? This book is so big, I don't have to hold it. I figured that out this week. This is great. Now I got to get me a podium. All right, Steve's going to read tonight in one paragraph at a time.
Therefore, we started upon a personal inventory. This was step 4. A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. Taking a commercial inventory is fact-finding and fact-basing process. It is an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade. One object is to disclose damaged or unusable goods, to get rid of them promptly and without regret. If the owner of the business is to be successful, he cannot fool himself about value.
They want you to speak louder. All right. Therefore, we started up on a personal inventory. I'm just going to briefly go over this, because last week we hit it a lot. An inventory is a written list of something, not a mental inventory. It has to be written down. Remember, I did the guys in the front row, and if I started over here and I would try to memorize what kind of clothes they have on, by the time I got to Ken, if you ask me what they have on, I have to tell you I don't know. My mind didn't remember. But if I was to write it down, Steve got on this, James got on this, by the time I got over here, if I had a written inventory, I could read it back. Correct?
Right.
So we're going to take a written inventory of ourselves. Instead of reading everybody else's inventory like we've been doing, we're going to take an inventory of ourselves. This is very important, and it's not hard work. It's not hard work. I don't know where that myth came from. Really, it's like on the 3rd or 4th grade level. All right? A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. I'm in the business, I have a business, and I've been in business for a long time. We take inventory of the stuff that's downstairs. We have codes, yellow pricing labels, white pricing labels. We know what's coming in, we know what's going out. Very, very simple stuff, right? The program is very simple. But we do take an inventory. Taking a commercial inventory is a fact-finding, that's searching, and a fact-facing, that's fearless process. Every 2 or 3 weeks, when it's downstairs, and like we're pricing with white labels, and then it fill up, and we know we got some stuff coming in, we go downstairs and we put everything that got white labels on sale, because we bring it in the yellow and we just flip the inventory. We do that quite often because we understand our business. We know that if you allow the stuff to sit on the shelves too long, the customers will stop coming. They will say, don't go over there, because they got the same stuff on the shelves. There's no point in going. So you have to keep it rotating so the customers can come in and out. That makes sense?
Right.
It is an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade. One object is to disclose damaged or unsellable goods. We got to know what's sale. We tell people all the time, you know those black 55, 60-inch TV that roll big as a refrigerator? Don't sell. Nobody want them. You can go out and you can put 15 of them on a truck. Fill up the whole truck. Bring them in here. You can't get $15 for all of them. Nobody wants them. So why do it? All right? They're unsellable. There's no point in putting out damaged microwave, damaged clothes. There's no point. Nobody wants them. All right? So we know this. It says to get rid of them promptly without regret. You got to be able to look at your business and say, this stuff is not selling. I want to get this out of here and put something in its place that do sell. Why am I going to waste the shelving or this spot right here for the shelf space for something that don't work? It's a lot. Most businesses are pretty good with that. Department stores, furniture stores, they know they go out and buy stuff and they don't sell, and they call organizations like ours to come and get it. Because it don't sell. It's not doing them any good. And it's some companies that go out and rent these big, huge storage warehouses. Store it with a whole lot of inventory, and then it become outdated. They call organizations to come and wipe out the whole warehouse so they can refill it with something that works. All right? If the owner of a business is to be successful, he cannot fool himself about values. That's important. They're going to flip it now. If an owner of a business can't fool himself about values, wouldn't you think your own personal life would be more important than that business? All right, read the next one.
We did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup which caused our failure. Being convinced itself manifested in various ways was what had defeated us. We considered its common manifestation.
All right, now we're going to break out the dictionary. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. What did we do with our life? We took stock. We did an inventory of our life. I had to look at my life. Let me talk about myself. I had to look at my life, found out my character defect, my flaws, what was working in my life, and what was damaged in my life and what was unsellable. I had to find these things inside of me that did not work. There's no point in going forward without finding out what was broken. That makes sense? You have to take inventory of yourself. If you clean and sober and you're not taking no inventory, you have no conception about the illness or the disease, you run into meetings, you might not, in our analogy, you might be out of the cage, like the lion. You might be out the cage, but you still on the chain hooked to that doghouse. You haven't done that much work. You just open up the gates to the cage or jail, and you stepped out. But you haven't done any mental work. Still got the same character defects, same flaws, same damaged goods, unusable good, and run around here sharing good. You heard something at somebody else meeting?
Take it back over here.
Take it over here and share it. Sound good to me over here? I share it over there. I know how that works because I did it myself. Somebody say something good over here, you look around and say, well, these people not going to be at that next meeting I'm going to. God share it. I know, because I done it myself. Now, if you have 10 people from that meeting, go over to that meeting, you probably have to change the subject. Because they know where you got that one from. They know it wasn't in you. How's that? You share something different. First, we searched out the flaw. We got to find out what broke first, y'all. All right? Let's don't be so quick to be so spiritual. Let's see what's wrong first. You know what I'm saying? In our makeup, which caused our failure. We need to find out what's inside of me, what's inside my thinking that caused my failure. All right? Being convinced that self manifested in various ways. Let's look up the word manifest. Now I had this thing. That's it. All right. Manifest means to be brought forward, exhibited, or shown. Let me say that again. Manifest means to be shown, to be exhibited, or brought forward. Manifestation means the features or results of something, demonstration or appearances. So if you have something that's manifested, it's brought forward. It had to come from something. That makes sense? Yeah. There's nothing in this entire universe was not manifest. We are manifestations from God. Somebody had to think up this water bottle in the imagination, in the spiritual world, so it can be brought forward in the material world. Is it making any sense? The hat Larry got on his head was somebody's ideal in the invisible world, which we call the spirit world, that has thought of there. Thoughts are things, and it was brought forward into this third dimension, this manifested world, where you can see it. My using, my running up and down the street, my acting the fool was a manifestation of me brought forward. My thinking brought forward. And all y'all that was around me when I was doing this, you are part of that manifestation because I needed you. I had to have my bodyguard to walk up and down with me when I go cop. I manifest the ones that went to work and came back to me so I can show them where to get it. I had to have the car thieves to go steal the car so we can joyride, sell somebody else's car. It was all my world pushed out. That's manifestation. You guys manifest me. I always was a leader. I was listening around. I always was a leader. Same thing. When he was saying that, that was me. Even in Skid Row Bum, I was leading them around. You do this, you do that, and you do this, and we all good. They believe it. I believe it. I always lay at folk. Don't go over there, go over here. Don't drink but half of that. The other half is mine, even though you bought it. They would tell me, yes, sir. Manifestation. We are self-manifested forward. If I could do it to do it for no good, I could turn it around and do it for goodness. It still came from me. That make sense? So let's just go over manifest. The book says being convinced that self manifested in various ways. That means we brought ourselves outward, brought it forth. You see, it's very important to look up the word. That's a big word to overlook. That's why I tell you, get a dictionary. All right. Being convinced that self-manifesting in various ways was what had defeated us. That's what defeated me. We consider its common manifestations. Everything that I did from my own thinking, and when you manifest something, you really focused on that thought. You know what I'm trying to say? You really putting a lot of energy on that thought. Let me see if I can do it a little better. When I was drinking and drugging, manifestations could be like fears. I always had a fear that I was going to get locked up. I always had a fear they're going to get me. They're going to get me. No matter what I did, even if I was going to church, I still had a fear in my head. When I come out of church, they come to get me. I always had a fear. I locked in on my thinking about going to jail. What you think happened?
Going to jail.
I end up in jail. For all y'all players, I'm going to get caught. She going to catch me. She going to catch me. I'm going to go on the other side of town. But I still know I'm going to get caught. What happened? Got caught. It didn't ever think. We never thought to change that common flow. Change that manifestation to let me stop doing this so I don't get caught. All we got to do is change our thinking. You manifest stuff from your thoughts, from the invisible world. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the conviction or the evidence of things not seen. It had to come from the unseen world. You have to believe what you want to be. You have to know that you got it. You got to have confidence that you got it, and it will show up in your life. I had confidence that once I get paid, I'm going to use. Nobody on earth would have stopped me from doing it. I was confident. I was sure that I was going to use. When I got that money, I used. You can have that same determination that same confidence to do other things in your life without using. You have to know and believe that it's possible. All things are possible with God. That's manifestations. Alright, do the next one.
Resentment is the #1 offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease, for we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, principles with whom we were angry. We asked ourselves, why were we angry? In most cases, it was found that our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambitions, our personal relationships, including sex, were hurt or threatened. So we were sore. We were burned up.
All right, here we go. Resentment. First thing we got to do is understand from the dictionary what is a resentment. All right, here it is. To resent, this is the word resent. Be angry about. Hold a grudge. It says bear a grudge, but I'm going to say hold. To feel. Cross your fingers on feel. To feel injured or insulted. A feeling of indignation or anger aroused by something unjust, mean, or unworthy. To resent basically means to feel strongly again or relive. To feel strongly again or to relive it. Alright? Resentful means angry, bitter, full of, and characterized by, or inclined to feel resentment. Resentment is a persistent feeling of ill will and suppressed anger caused by a sense of an injustice, insult, injury, offense, or wrong done. Basically, if you ever been pissed off at somebody and you hold on to it a little bit, it's a resentment. If you ever been angry and you hold on to it, it's a resentment. Now, I'm going to go over a few of my resentments that I discovered by doing a 4-step. Because you have to do a 4-step, you have to go all the way back through your life. Now, you got to know this. In the subconscious mind, in your psyche, in the invisible world that we talk about, that you hear me talk about so much, 4th dimension, is that when you have a resentment against somebody, not only is the anger the situation, you know what I'm trying to say? Let's say this person hit me upside the head with the bat. Okay, now that would be a good resentment to hold on to.
Right.
Or this person quit me for this person. That's a good resentment. But it's not just the situation, that's what I want to explain, that we hold on to. It's not just the event, situation. We also hold on in the subconscious world, in the psychic world, those feelings that's attached to that.
Yeah.
You hear me say that now? It says in the dictionary. We hold on to those same feelings that's attached to that. That's deep. You got that same feelings. One of my very first resentments when I discovered, because my sponsor had me to just go back in your childhood and try to find your very first resentment. And I found it. The very first resentment I ever knew. My father was in the Air Force. He was stationed at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. He was a stone alcoholic. The military told him, you cannot re-enlist. He worked on computers when they didn't have computers. They told him, you cannot re-enlist. You got to, gave him an honorable discharge. When your time is up, you got to go. There ain't no more re-enlisting. You've been too drunk around here. All right?
Okay.
I remember as a little boy, 3 or 4 years old, I remember my mother, and we lived in a trailer, and my little brother, he was a little baby by then. I remember my mother allowing me to walk out the gate of our trailer park, walk up the street, and there was a playground up there on my own. And me and the little kids in this trailer park, military little kids, brats, I guess you call them military brats. We all were playing in the playground, and I could hear my mother call me, and I would leave. I was like the dog that had the little thing on the neck. I was let out of jail, and I was free. I was the first time in my life I was on my own. I was able to go down to that park and play with the kids and enjoy myself, and come back, and that was a new world. I was in utopia. I'll never forget that. And I never forget when my mother, and I know this is global, and I know a lot of spiritual people and all this don't want to hear nobody cuss, but I got to do this one. Can I have y'all permission to curse? I remember when my mother was sitting down, I heard my mother and my father talking about leaving. And I remember my mother got me at the table and said, we got to pack up next week. We got to move to L.A. Your father's not going to be in the military no more. We're not going to live around here no more. We got to move to L.A. and stay with some family members of mine and my mother, because we had kinfolks in L.A. I said, I can't go back to the park and play with my friend. She said, no, you got to move. I said, that motherfucker. That motherfucker took away my world. I've been sitting his ass ever since. But my point was, do y'all know it was 40 years after that? I ain't thought about none of this no more till I was writing that footstep. And I wrote that down. I said, that motherfucker. 40 years had passed. And that's what I'm trying to get y'all to understand. Those same feelings, those same words, that same thing, that whole scenario was still present. It was still present in my subconscious. That makes sense? Now imagine if you got 50 names and each person gonna have like 10 or 15 causes why you angry. And you got all this stuff buried in you, underground. You don't even know it exists. And it says it's blocking you from God. But you have no concept that it's there. You like a lion in a cage. You don't know. So soon we let you out the cage, bam! You have no choice but to fall. I don't need to do no 4-step. Don't do it then. I know. I told people this the other day. Your life, if you remember how miserable you were right before you came into recovery, how you slid on the ground like a maggot on the rock, if you don't do these step work, I guarantee you'll be clean and sober, just like a maggot on a rock. You have to go inside and get this stuff out. And how can it be hard? It's your stuff. Oh, I think it's too hard. It's you. It ain't my stuff I'm giving to you. It's your stuff. You already living with your stuff. Who wouldn't want to be free from my own miserable self? Doesn't it say something about abandon myself to God? Don't you want to leave the hoopty behind? That's resentment. Here it is. Resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From its stem, all forms of spiritual disease. For we have not only been mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. Do you understand what spirit is? Let's do it. This is like preaching tonight, ain't it? Man, I had Carcel must have been in my book. I had it all in neat. All right, let's look at spirit. Say spiritual. That's what the dictionary says. This is AA dictionary. Spiritual, of the spirit or soul as distinguished from the body or material matters. It's the spiritual world that we're talking about. It's distinguished. It's separated from the body. You know what I'm trying to say? You got the body here and then you got the spiritual. All right? It says that relating to what is traditionally believed to be the vital principle or animated force within living beings. The vital force that's within us is this spirit. That makes sense? It's in us. It's within our mind. It controls our organs, your heart beating. When you eat, the body disseminates what it needs, and it let the waste out what it don't need, without you even thinking about it. There's something that's controlling that. The eyes we see, really all we're doing is taking in thoughts, and it's kind of backwards. It's like a camera. It's a reflection going into our brain to make you see what you see now. All this stuff is controlled by something. And it ain't me, because I'm not thinking about it. I don't think about what my heart do. Only time I think about my heart, if I eat too much and it get a little heartburn. That's all the thing I think about. The rest of the stuff is done automatic with the universe. That makes sense? Alright, spirit is of relating to, consisting of, or affecting the spirit. It says not composed of matter. It's not made with matter. Is not perceptible, especially by touch. Is of, from, or pertaining to God or higher power, or of belonging to a church or religious. You can be spiritual. So spirit is at the level of one's essential eternal self. The psychic being, the soul, the will, the feeling, the thinking, or the attracting force. So when you're spiritually minded, what they're saying is that there's a force in me. For me, it's the I am. It's the I am. Inside of me, there is a spirit that's connected to everything. I didn't know this at first. I was always looking outside. Alright? But it's inside each and every last one of us, and we got to learn how to develop that spirit and use that spirit. Alright? It says that from its stem all forms of spiritual disease, for we have not only been mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. So my spiritual life has been very, very affected by all these resentments I've been holding, all this anger I've been have that's I can't put my hands on them. I can't touch it. It's not like matter. It's not like this that I can see every day, but they're there. All that stuff has affected me spiritually. That makes sense? It's like having an angry God in you. An angry God. That makes sense? All right. So what we're going to do is say In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry. This is a little easy thing. You can go, if you're around the world and you're looking at it on YouTube or getting the CDs, you can go to our website. It'll be downloaded. I download the instructions there. But it's real simple. All right. It says, in dealing with resentment, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry. We asked ourselves why we were angry. In most cases, we found that our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambition, our personal relationships, including sex, were hurt or threatened. So we were sore. We were burned up. All right. What I'm going to do now is just look on page 65. Now, on our paperwork, right here, this is Bill Wilson's example of his 4-step. All right? So they're done in columns. If you look right here, I got a column 1, a column 2, a column 3, and it's a column 4. I gave you that paperwork with the columns on it. So let's just say, let's look at Bill. On his resentments, he says right here, I'm resentful at, number 1, you go from top to bottom. All right? Mr. Brown, Mrs. Jones, my employer, my wife. Y'all see that? You go from top to bottom. So you need to get you a spiral notebook, right? And you want to put resentment like that. All right, and you just list. All right, we can do something up here. Start with the easy people first. And what I mean by that, your immediate family members. Get the easy one first. My mother, or you can put her name. Number 2, sister. Number 3, y'all help me out. Father. Oh, let's do names. Junior.
God.
5, God.
Police.
No, that's just names. All right.
Police men.
Okay, well, what you don't know names?
Officer Smith.
All right. All right, we're going to stop at 7 with myself, Robert. All right. Now, I suggest, because we gave you like a cheat sheet, I suggest you do like 50 names. Easy. Real easy. Real easy, because we gave you a cheat sheet to follow.
Right.
All we want in column 1, here's a cheat sheet right here. If you're on the internet or on YouTube or got the CD and you see this, just email the Atlanta Step Up Society and we'll send you this form, or go to the website, we'll download it and put it on the website. Very simple. This right here has the cheats, and it tells you right there, brother, sister, cousin, policeman, lawyer, employers, employee, school, friends, elementary school kids, go back through your life. All right? So that's column 1. I'm only going to do 2 columns tonight. Column 2. Let me explain something, though. I know some of y'all did the work, like Erica. Who else did it?
Me?
All right, you did it?
I got 57.
Okay, good. 57. That's why she said, Junior. See that Junior on top there. See, that's great, though. You might want to get a little bigger tablet now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, get a little bigger one. Get a real one now.
Okay.
Not a little notebook. All right, look at James. See James? Let me show this to the world. See how he did this? See, Cheryl, when she talking about, she wasn't here last week when we talking about grasshoppers. You don't want to be that one, right? Okay, let's say mother. We're going to do the causes. That's column 2. So you do one person at a time. So we're going to say our mother. Right. All right. Let's think of some things that will make us angry about our mother.
She'll whip you.
She'll what? Whip you?
Okay.
But you can be a little bit more open to, she beat your butt. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it takes.
I was the third child, but my older brother got things to do. I had to get their hand me down.
Mm-hmm. I got old stuff.
What about died when I was young?
Yeah.
Died when I was young.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Couldn't go to the playground.
I know.
Raised in alcohol.
Borrow money
all the time.
Wanted money?
All the time.
all the time.
Wanted my money.
She left my father.
What about told all my business?
Oh,
Oh, left my father.
She was a hoe? How you spell that?
W-H.
W-H.
She put me in my
Number
place.
8,
Put me in my place.
put me out.
Put me in my place, made me feel small. Made me feel small.
Put me down.
Yeah.
Is cheating, is like...
What about never came to my game?
Yeah.
Y'all got an idea? You got an idea, Eric? Everybody else? That is just one person. One person. So if you got 50 names, you got to do each person like this. You got to go through all the stuff you were angry or pissed off about for all 50 people. Now I'm saying 50, but it's going to be more. Like she said she had 57. Erica, what's your number? 54. When you get to the, I know you can do 50. I'm just putting out 50 to give you a good start.
Right.
You know, so you say, okay, I can do 50. Now I'm confident I can keep going. I just want to build your confidence. Remember now, if you lack confidence, you might lack God. God ain't weak. So here's the deal. You're going to do all this stuff, right? You're going to put these names down. All right? Now let's just kind of play a little game. I don't have much more time, and then we're going to go back to next week. But what I wanted to tell you is once you get to 50, leave some space. Because that's when we talk about more or be revealed.
Right.
You carry it with you as you riding on the highway or on the bus or going to a meeting or going to work. Another name pop up. It's been revealed. For you, God is working in you. He wants you to put it down. Put that name down. Put that name down. Now you know you working the program because more being revealed to you. This stuff is coming from your subconscious. It's coming from the invisible world. The spiritual world, it just told you something you can't touch. You can't put your hands on it. You can't feel it. I don't want you to think spirituality is false, because it ain't. Something you can't touch, something you can't, it's not matter. It's in you, in your mind, in your imagination. So the way it kind of works, and I go over this, I do bills. Let's just say Bill is, he says, column 1, I'm resentful at Mr. Brown, Mrs. Jones, my employer, my wife. This is what his mind is doing. Well, you know, I'm pissed off with Mr. Brown. The cause is his attention to my wife. He's always looking at my wife. You can go when the time comes. You did cut it off. He's always looking at my wife. Told my wife about my cheating with my mistress. Mr. Brown may get my job at the office. Then you got Miss Jones. She's a nut. She snubbed me. I don't really know what that means, but she snubbed me. Committed her husband for drinking. He's my friend. She's a gossip. You see how the mind to keep going. You're living in fear anyway. My employer, he's unreasonable, unjust, overbearing, threatened to fire me for drinking and padding my expense account. My wife misunderstands and nags, likes Brown, wants to put the house up. So all this is on the thing, but it's not all in one line. It's not all in one sequence. So what he really doing is saying, man, I'm going to go here and holler at Mr. Brown because, you know, I can take that girl over there. He don't hate shit. He ain't going to tell nothing about it. But then now he done told my wife, I'll be damned. And my boy, Mrs. Jones, he locked up for drinking. And his wife was a gospel. I know she's going to go back and tell my wife to lock me up. Put me in some institution. So all this going through his head. And I'm about to get fired. If I get fired, oh Lord, my wife wants that house so she can be with Mr. Brown. I know that. You know what I'm trying to say? All this will be going on. So you take all this stuff and you twist it all up. No, this ain't but 4 people. All this stuff on your mama, all this stuff that's going on, all this is going through your mind all the time. Now, let's say you got 50 people. 50 people. What? Just say 10. 50 times 10 is what? So you got 500 resentments that you're not even conscious about. And you walking around and them feelings just keep coming up from nowhere. Every time you think about your mama, wow. Every time you think about Robert, wow. Every time you think about Officer Smith, wow. You going down the street, you see any police, Officer Smith, wow. You know what I'm saying? You know, anybody named Junior? You know, your father been dead 20 years. Somebody called his name. Where is God in that? That's the question. Where is God in that? Sound like to me, since nobody can answer, we spiritually sick. Thank y'all for a good meeting.